Aye.
Is sugar good for you? Back in 1976, the Sugar Association convinced the public that it was. According to a November-December 2012 issue of Mother Jones, the industry used an elaborate campaign, complete with dietary and medical professionals, to convince us, the consuming public, that sugar was not harmful to our health. As a result, the American Heart Association and the American Diabetes Association got on board with sugar. Both went so far as to approve the consumption of sugar as part of a healthy diet. As a result, sugar consumption rose, and so did the onset of chronic diseases. Are you surprised? I'm not. I've seen the development of type 2 diabetes develop in my family, and I have reasons to believe that one of the reasons is a diet high in sugar. And today I would like to convince you to reduce or eliminate added sugar from your diet, because we consume excessive amounts of added sugar, and that this added sugar is a risk factor for the onset of type 2 diabetes. So let's start by learning a little bit about why we like sugar and how the food industry has increased the sugar in our food and drink. So this first part of my talk, I'd like to share some information on our desire for sugar and how the industry caters to that desire, which I found in an April 2014 issue of the clinical journal Diabetes Care. We have a natural desire for things that have a sweet taste. This is found in newborns, and it continues to increase throughout childhood. And it's possible that by adding sweetness to a child's food and drink during their childhood can increase their craving for sweetness. According to the article, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has not imposed an upper limit on our dietary guideline regarding sugar. The National Academy of Sciences Institutes of Medicine has a table on their website at iom.edu, which gives recommended range for the consumption of macronutrients. They recommend that 45 to 65% of our calories come from carbohydrates, like sugar, except for children under the age of 12 months. Exceeding that range, they warn, may increase the risk of chronic diseases. The U.S. is the world's largest consumer of sweeteners, including sugar and high fructose corn syrup. Since 1950, our consumption of soft drinks has quintupled. Though we increased our consumption of sugary drinks, we didn't compensate by reducing our consumption of other foods. And the industry continues to develop new products with sugar that they have put in our diet. 75% of our food and drink has added sugar. Even those marketed as good for us, such as energy drinks and sports drinks, have added sugar. So now we know why we like sugar and how the industry has increased it in our food and drink. Let's continue with some information about sugar and how it affects our health. The second thing I'd like to talk to you about is the negative effect sugar has on our health. And this is information that I found in a 2012 article of Nature magazine called The Toxic Truth About Sugar. The authors of this article advocate regulating sugar for the same reasons as alcohol. One reason is the toxic effects that sugar has on our health. Sugar contributes to the onset of all diseases related to the metabolic syndrome. Sugar may also have a toxic effect on our liver, similar to that of alcohol. Another reason they cite is sugar's potential to be abused. Sugar can be addictive, and it's also known to interfere with our hormones. It increases the effect of the hormone that tells us we're hungry, and it decreases the effect of the hormone that tells us that we're full. Sugar has been linked to the incidence of metabolic health issues. Metabolic syndrome, according to the Merck Manual, is characterized by several symptoms, including high blood pressure, high fasting glucose levels, and insulin resistance or diabetes. A 2013 study that I found online, led by Sanjay Basu, who's the assistant professor of medicine at the Stanford Prevention Research Center, found that consumption of sugary foods is associated with the development of insulin resistance and reduced insulin secretion, leading to the manifestation of diabetes. As I said earlier, sugar intake increased following the campaign promoting sugar. In 1980, the average person consumed 120 pounds of sugar per year. Contrast that to 1776, when the average person consumed 4 pounds of sugar per year. That's from the 2014 issue of Diabetes Care. By 2010, the average person consumed 132 pounds of sugar per year. Obesity also increased. In 1980, 15% of adults were obese, and by 2010, 35.7% of adults were obese. In 1980, 5.5% of children were obese, and by 2010, 16.9% were obese. That's 3 times the number. In 1980, 2.5% of Americans were diagnosed with diabetes, and by 2010, 6.8% of Americans were diagnosed with diabetes. So now we have a little information about sugar's negative effect on our health. I'd like to give you some ways to reduce your sugar in your diet. This third part of my drink, I'd like to offer some suggestions on how you can reduce your consumption of sugary foods and beverages and lower your potential for developing metabolic syndrome and the diseases that can result. Do this slowly. It may be hard to eliminate everything with added sugar all at once. According to diabetes.org, you should limit your intake of sugary sweetened drinks in order to prevent diabetes. Reduce or eliminate processed foods, most of which have added sugar, and stop adding or reduce the amount of sugar that you add to your food or drink. You can learn how much sugar is in your food at sugarstacks.com. This site uses ordinary sugar cubes, each representing 4 grams of sugar, to show you how much sugar is in your food. And most of the processed foods that they feature on their site are familiar name brands. So now you have some useful suggestions on how to reduce added sugar in your diet. So to conclude, I would like to recap the points I've made about sugar. First, we like sugar, the industry knows it, and adds it to our food and drink. Second, although the industry tried to convince us otherwise, added sugar is not good for us. It increases our chances of developing metabolic syndrome, which is a risk factor for type 2 diabetes. Third, you can lower your intake of added sugar by eliminating sugary drinks and processed food. I know this is challenging, but it's not impossible. Since we have a concern with type 2 diabetes in our family, I challenge you to make some small changes in your diet to reduce your intake of added sugar. And as a last word, beware of an industry that depends on you as a consumer. They might do just about anything to get you to buy their product, such as tell you that it's good for you when science tells you it's not.